The 41-year-old fisherman from the coastal village of Alappuzha in Kerala had spent his entire life by the sea. Salt in his hair, wind on his face, and sun in his eyes were all part of the job. So when he started blinking more than usual, swatting at faint, wispy shapes that floated at the edge of his vision, he didn't think much of it. Just dust, maybe age, maybe the glare of the ocean. But the shadows didn't go away. They danced, not like the harmless floaters he'd sometimes noticed on very bright days, but with purpose. He would see them especially in the mornings, thin, squirming strands slithering horizontally across his peripheral vision. Sometimes they moved in slow circles. Sometimes they paused, always just at the edge, never still. Raj began to grow uneasy. He tried rubbing his eyes until they were red, washed them with seawater, and even poured diluted neem water into them, a remedy his grandmother used for everything from styes to evil dreams. Nothing helped. Within 2 weeks, things escalated. One afternoon, as he leaned over the boat to clean his nets, a bright shaft of sunlight struck his face just as he looked up, and he saw it. Not just a shadow, but movement. Real movement. He ran to a mirror inside the boat cabin. Holding his eyelids apart, he peered closely at the whites of his eyes. At first he saw nothing, but then it happened again. Something moved, beneath the surface. He staggered back from the mirror, nearly slipping on the slick wooden floor. He told his wife that evening, but she dismissed it. "You're tired. You haven't slept well since the last storm. Go see the clinic doctor tomorrow." The clinic doctor waved it off too. Dry eyes, fatigue, overwork. He gave Raj lubricating drops and told him to rest. Rest? Raj couldn't sleep. Each time he closed his eyes, he imagined something writhing beneath them. The twitching became more frequent. He began avoiding direct sunlight because that's when he could see them best, and it terrified him. The way they moved wasn't natural. It wasn't random. These things had intent. His nights became plagued with dreams, wet, claustrophobic visions of being submerged, eyes wide open underwater, watching thin white worms wriggle through his vision like ghosts. Eventually, desperate and half convinced he was losing his mind, Raj made the 3-hour journey to the city hospital in Kochi. He waited 6 hours before being ushered in to see Dr. Nair, a young ophthalmologist in training. Raj stumbled through his explanation, expecting disbelief. Instead, the doctor became unusually quiet. "Let's take a look," Dr. Nair said. He switched on the slit lamp microscope and asked Raj to rest his chin on the machine. Raj squinted into the blinding light, trying not to blink. Then he heard it. A whisper, a gasp. The doctor had frozen mid-motion. "My God!" Raj blinked rapidly, heart thudding. "What is it?" "Just hold still." Through the lens, magnified 50 times, Dr. Nair saw the truth. There, beneath the thin conjunctiva, were translucent, thread-like worms, moving, alive, between layers of Raj's eye. One of them arched and glided across the cornea like a fish skimming a pond. Another slithered slowly near the inner canthus, disappearing before he could follow it. The diagnosis was swift and horrifying. Loiasis, an infection caused by loa loa, a parasitic worm endemic to parts of Africa, rare in India, but not impossible. Dr. Nair asked Raj if he'd ever traveled abroad. Raj shook his head, but then remembered. Years ago, a cargo ship from West Africa had docked in port, and he'd helped unload it during monsoon season. He recalled swatting away biting flies that had hovered thick in the humid air. That was all it had taken. One infected deer fly. One bite. The larvae had entered his bloodstream, slowly matured, and migrated. Most loiasis cases remain under the skin, causing swellings and itches. But sometimes, the worms find their way to the eyes. The next 7 days were a blur. Raj was admitted for outpatient procedures. The doctors used medications to coax the worms toward the surface of his eye. Each time one approached the conjunctiva, they would act fast, immobilizing Raj's head, numbing his eye with drops, and using micro-forceps to grasp the parasite. The removals were delicate. Some worms squirmed violently, resisting the pull. One particularly large specimen coiled like a spring, refusing to budge. It took 22 agonizing minutes to extract, slipping inch by inch as Raj fought to remain still. They removed 14 worms in total. The largest was nearly 7 centimeters long. Raj kept the first one in a specimen jar beside his hospital bed, partly out of awe, partly out of horror. He wasn't sure why he needed to see it again, but he did. Proof, perhaps, that he wasn't imagining things, that he wasn't mad. After the extractions, his vision slowly returned to normal, though he still blinked nervously whenever something fluttered at the edge of his sight. He suffered phantom movements, itching, twitching, the sensation of something watching him, from within. Back in his village, the whispers started. Children avoided his boat. Neighbors eyed him with a mixture of fascination and fear. Someone said he'd been cursed. Someone else swore they saw a worm crawl from his tear duct during the full moon. He stopped going to the market, stopped attending festivals. But he kept one thing with him at all times, a photograph of the extracted worms lined neatly beside a ruler for scale. He folded it carefully and tucked it in his wallet behind his fishing license. Not as a trophy, not even as a warning, but as a reminder that what we see isn't always in our imagination, that the line between real and unreal can slither beneath your skin for years, unnoticed, and that sometimes the monsters aren't hiding in the shadows. They're hiding in plain sight, behind your own eyes. Because the true horror isn't just seeing the worms, it's knowing they might still be there.